And here we are back for round 3 of DM8.
That's what we got. Yeah, let's share screen here. Share your screen. Here we go. Ta-da! Wait till Jane gets that. So this is Hexagon City. Got lots of hexagons here. But I was looking for an actual. This one is like says it's a free font download. So Jane, these are what came up when I did font with hexagonal dingbat, and there's no hexagonal dingbat, but these all appear to have something to do with font that and emblems that are hexagonal. So it was quite a like a little treasure chest of and these letters right here, chess, or I think that's chess. in sort of they're just taking parts of a hexagon. I've got to take a picture of that. Okay. Lots going on there. Okay. Bye-bye to that. So for our next project, I'm going to just go in here and take a look at what we've got. Module. And this next assignment has changed quite a bit from last time. So this is our project 4, and adapt possible portfolio pieces to a plan for production. What are you going to use? So in keeping with the look of your resume, cover letter, plan your portfolio structure and orientation. Consider who may be experiencing your portfolio and where you might be. In most cases for the next, that little typo, that will be home. So everybody's at home, so that people are working from home in all kinds of ways, and there are more print shops really functioning as usual. Mavericks printing might stay open, I don't know, but so things like places to print and people to hand things to, physical things. So what you'd be doing is investigate and identify ready-made versions, custom fabrication of your own, a folder or a book, and other aspects like size, material, encased or loose, and so on. So those are all examples of a kind of portfolio. Research possibilities online and conditions permitting in art stores. So you'd be looking at that. For the next half year or so, online and mailable portfolios will be essential. So you need to have an online presence, and so that might be taking a course if you need it, or online, or at Cabrillo, in WordPress, or something to promote yourself. And so be aware of various scenarios that may happen between you and an employer or client. Some of these considerations will be influenced by the type of work you have to show. Investigate and identify fabrication processes, services, and delivery modes. So anything that's associated with getting your portfolio made and out there should be part of your process of what you consider for uh, your ideas for how that plays out. So envision the actual interview as a kind of performance for which you want to anticipate the reality of the circumstances. So there's a theatrical component in an interview for creative work that involves presenting yourself with respect to what you know about the client. So try to learn about your client, and if you're going to an agency or someplace, the agency would know the client and would coach you on how to be how to approach the client. You read out your portfolio and decide what was important to show or not. And so those are the kinds of things that we're looking at for next week, the possibilities of what you could be showing. So for this phase, take notes, experiment with components, keep track of what works and what doesn't, bring your results to test with classmates, and in our case, it's going to be virtual. So your results will be, if you're thinking about doing something mailable, then you would be coming up with what shape that would take and how it would be produced, and so it would be ultimately a physical thing. And those are out there. The mail is still going. They haven't managed to trying real hard to get rid of it, so we can't vote by mail, but that's still going. So mail is one of the ways that you might be able to send your portfolio. And during the current pandemic, special considerations are present that call for mostly virtual presentations. So those would be probably Zoom and online, having a portfolio online. And some of you may not have taken a class or know how to do that, but there are systems like Squarespace and WordPress that will help you with that process. But it still means that you're, in any case, have some clear, tangible options for using inexpensive materials to mock up your ideas. So if it's something like a page that needs to be folded and sent, get the paper, if you can, that size, or something to scale for that, and get a feel for what it is that might be. There are online many single page portfolios where they are all folded up with resume on one face, and a couple of students last class did that, where they used the tabloid printer in the lab and did their whole portfolio in one tabloid size page that could be sent out or handed over. And so it folded out and up and over so that it had different elements that they were showing, their cover letter and their resume, and just had a wonderful look to it. So those patterns for those are online, but you may be of a mind to invent a pattern yourself by getting a piece of standard paper that you might be able to print on someplace, but if you can't print on it, you could, there'd be a PDF that you could make of it, or pieces of it. So planning for all of those things. So for the rest of this year, most options will need to be virtual. In any event, have a plan for physical paper components that can be sent by mail. So how could you, if they ask you to, could you send something? You want to be able to say yes and have it represent you in the way that you are represented consistently, so that if you have a space online or a portfolio online, you want to make all of those look like they come from the same person. So those are things that you're thinking about. And so the project rubric is planning a case And I put case in quotes because that can go in a couple of or three different directions. For the project content and potential portfolio pieces, components work into the presentation from project 3, so you may want to revise what we just did. You may want to rework your cover letter based on suggestions or new ideas you have, and your resume. And then you'd probably want to figure out, do I need this much on my resume? Should I have 2 or 3 resumes that have more or less information about certain things based on what I get from employers and agents and people who are seeking your help? So not padding out your resume with things that are extra, but making it, customizing it to the job you're applying for. So that's having multiple resumes and maybe different presentations to go with them. So the last one is to do one variation for your resume. So things that we talked about today that you might do, apply those revisions and turn in another resume that has a little bit different way of looking. So especially incorporating the suggestions that were made today during the critique. So that would be a part of what you want to do there. So this, thinking about this sort of sent me off to look online to see what's out there. And I went to this site where a woman who works at home has 3 kids, one, a couple of younger kids, and so she was talking about what she's doing now. She's trying to figure out how to just.
Hey everybody, it's Jean. I am coming to you today about how to get clients when things are tough right now. So everyone has different circumstances, and today I just want to address the elephant in the room, which is cash flow. I have heard today about lawyers, creative lawyers, that have been in the trenches all week because people have lost clients due to their lack of clients or their lost income. And so that is affecting contracts. And actually, this lawyer said that there are probably going to be a boatload of lawsuits after this is all said and done because people are just running away from their commitments, and probably because they don't have income. But things have changed so drastically that I just wanted to address what we can do right now besides staying calm, but taking action in a way that produces cash flow for those that have found themselves in difficult situations because clients have backed out. I am a huge proponent of niching down and attracting your target audience. But when you are in a position where no money is coming in, or very little money or consistent money is coming in, then you need to have a plan B, C, and D. And that is hooking up with any of those freelance websites that are out there. And I'm sure they're going to be inundated right now, but that doesn't mean you don't go and throw your hat in the ring. So my first suggestion is to go If you Google best freelance websites, you will get different blog posts that have lists of the different websites that can help you get clients. And so you definitely, for these, you probably need a resume. But here are 18 that are listed on this website, Hostinger. And it starts with Upwork. Upwork, I actually am on Upwork for this area. And you can set your pricing and all of that. And you can go and look and see what jobs are available right now and if they fit what you can do and what your requirements are, what your skill sets are. So Upwork is number one. Fiverr, which I usually would stay away. I don't know anything really about Fiverr, but I know that there were some ripoffs on this website, so I don't know if they've gotten any better. Topdol is award-winning, and so Topdol is one. The only one I've used is Upwork. So I'm just reading you what's on this blog post. So Fiverr, Topdol, Simply.
So I don't think we need to hear her read this, but you get the link, and then and this is the list. You could, take a screenshot of it now or something like that, or I could just send you the site. But she's just talking about the whole industry. Everybody in all of everybody is involved in is impacted by this. So getting connected in ways that you can, and finding out how like Julie, you were with the creative group at one point, right?
Creative Circle, yeah.
Creative
That's the
Circle.
other one.
So these, but she just said something about Fiverr that sounded like you would totally avoid it, but Upwork is one of the she's been using. So if you're,
I've heard Fiverr doesn't pay very much.
That's what she was just saying, that they're kind of.
I've heard a lot of bad things about it, so I would definitely avoid that one.
Yeah, so that gets a line through it. But she's been using Upwork for some time, has been working at home anyway because she's been has kids and needs to stay with the young ones, and has been so that those are things to consider in terms of finding out. I'd contact Upwork and anybody you know about. I'd cross off Fiverr right now, and you could also listen to the rest of her talk, which is basically about working at home and any way that you could as a designer.
There's another one. Hold on, I'm looking it up.
Okay, great.
I think it's called Thumbtack. Yeah, it's called Thumbtack. And you essentially like bid for jobs, but you can also get it set up to like send you notifications through your text messaging when somebody needs a new job filled. And I get, like, I had to turn the notifications off because there's a lot of them in our area. I put the link in the chat box. But it's kind of cool because they're like, I need a mural painted, I need, a logo, stuff like that. So some of the things are like really small and they have a really small budget, but it's a good way to just get more work in your portfolio too.
Yeah. So this would be part of what we're doing between now and next class, is to investigate what's really going on out there, the realities of our situation, and seeing what seems to be available, and thinking about how we can connect with the clients, and being ready with the proper components, whether it's something paper or something online, or a resume that you can send or attach. So those are the kinds of things you want to think about. What forms your portfolio will take. It may be narrowed down to just representing yourself with a cover letter and a resume or something like that. But the idea is kind of feel out what the scene is out there, and just from that brief video, everybody's dealing with the same thing. And for instance, all of the colleges are going through the whole summer online. It's not, nobody's nobody's spared. So it's something that is, if you have a place to work, then you're really lucky. If you have a way to get whatever it is that you have out there, our job in class here is to make sure that you're investigating all of the resources. And so this week is about researching what's out there, and some of you are already doing that. So giving each other tips about what you've found and what works, and how you may want to modify any of the materials that you have to fit into this state of things. And so having something that is mailable, online, would indicate that you would want to start looking at different ways that people present themselves online. One of the other things that I clicked was so for education, for continued education courses and exams, and how people are dealing with this at the colleges. And this is about how for your AP 2D art and design portfolio kind of thing, what it is that colleges are asking for, and then your kind of delivery, what it is that you need to be, how you need to be seen. You definitely need to be seen online in some format or other. And John, is it next semester that you're teaching? The second half is WordPress, and the first half is the...
No, backwards. The first half is WordPress, and the second half of next semester, the fall, is the social media marketing class.
Right. So those two courses would be really good to take, and they're both online, and they're that's what you're going to be kind of getting into more of this. By then, you will probably have something that you're using to represent yourself. And so I've been looking around to see what other colleges and so forth are doing. So what you'd be doing is something essentially quite different from what we did last time, because students were primarily doing things that had boxes and all that stuff that we're not doing anymore. So the other thing that I wanted to do is just, I didn't get a link, but just look at one page paper portfolios images. So sometimes you can get something all on a sheet of paper. So it's not coming up here. So that. Well, I did see one that came up the last time I checked, and it was a design that was on a single piece of paper that had folded up in a certain way, and I'm not seeing it now, but I'll look for that and then send the link. So those are the kinds of things that we're going to be kind of looking at this point to get a sense of what it is that, how you can show your work, how you can best display your work in the current situation. So you won't be walking into somebody's office. You so that having something that looking at, oh, say, I'm going to look at something on here. And I stay away. So this is, I think, the one that we may have looked at the beginning of the semester. So looking at portfolios online and how could those portfolios be adapted to a single piece of paper or something like that. If somebody wants something physical, how can you translate that to, this is the interface designer here. So use that in terms of like just looking at, this is a strong image that would catch somebody's eye. So if you have a strong image on a piece of paper, it folds out, it's got your resume, it's got, you've looked up what the people you're sending it to want, and you've tailored your resume to appeal to that particular got here. So this whole thing of jerking and swooping is real current now. You've got to have that, or but I think that you could probably get away with not so much swooping. But so imagery that is strong and representative of you. So that's just look at whatever it is that kind of appeals to you in terms of the direction you're going, what your work's about, what, yeah. So many sites I'm going to now and do this. We've got to have a little action going on. So there's also getting involved with something like we mentioned, motionography. So there's a whole movement that has to do with motionography. It's related to animation and related to imagery and storytelling and games and that kind of thing. So if part of what you do might lead to something like that, going and finding out more about the what that involves is something that you could investigate. So this isn't opening up there we go. So if you
creativity, collaboration are what make our TV industry great. So why not apply that same approach to climate change? because we've got 10 years to save the planet. And the TV industry will need to do their bit. That's why we've started the Creative Energy Project. For most creative companies, the change to a renewable tariff is quick and easy, and is the single biggest cut we can make to our carbon footprint. We carefully vet energy suppliers who provide 100% renewable electricity generated from sun, wind and water here in the UK. And the more people who join the Creative Energy Project and buy their energy with us, the more cost efficient it becomes. Better for your budget, better for our planet. What are you waiting for? Find out more and get a quote.
So there are all manner of motionography kinds of short, some are very short, but sometimes if you're interested in animation, then this is another area of animation that's growing. And it might be something that you would combine with your video or something like that. And then you could take a look at the, there's an interesting logo right down here in the corner. Looking at everything that's possible to combine with what you're doing. And then we're going to be, for next week, to talk about some of your discoveries in the discussion. So you'd be wanting to do that as well. So we have a discussion for this next week, and I've been going in and rating discussions as I find out about them. So in our next module, we have the what we've been talking about, plus a discussion that has to do with what we've been talking about in class, and explore 3 options online and compare them. So going out and kind of scouting possibilities and seeing what works, looking at a lot of things and noting the things that work for you individually that might be just the thing to add into your mix, and then compare them, contrast and compare them, and then put your ideas out there and answer or comment on another student's ideas. So this is the discussion for next week. So it's just continuing to investigate the options and possibilities, the different ways that you might put yourself and your work out there. And with it, all of us working on that, I will be too, because I'm curious about how things are changing based on what's going on all over the world. So keeping kind of an account or taking notes about what's working, and then sending your ideas in a discussion post, and then responding to another student, and so that we can kind of crowdsource our discoveries and what people are doing now, how they're dealing with this, and what ways would work for you to get your look and your identity out there to the right place in the right form, so that you can really, in a couple of weeks, have something that's tangible. And if it's not completely tangible, if it's virtual, having a strong plan for how that would look. So how would your site look? What would you need to have? What, based on going back to the first videos we had in the course, where we were talking about how many items you should show, and what order they should be in, and how you should caption them, and how much you should say or not say. So all of those kinds of things carry forward into now, so that you might want to refer back to some of the sites that we looked at in the beginning, you may also want to go look at Julia's webinar and see if there's something else in there that clicks for you. So without exhausting yourself, getting as much information as you can, inspiration, you might decide to change your whole colorway, who knows, or something like that. So that's kind of what we're about for the rest of the semester, is getting something that's tangible, both tangible and virtual, to represent yourself. And because it's a short course, if it were, twice as long, then we'd probably have much more at the end to represent ourselves. But in the traditional old kind of portfolio class, that would mean getting a big case with all of that going on, and that's not going to be the way it is for quite a while. So having something tangible, though, is nice, because in this context, people do appreciate that. But having it tangible and relevant, and that it speaks to whoever it is you want to work with in a way that is has integrity, and they get it. They get that you do the things that you're showing, and they appreciate that. So that's kind of where we want to be at by the end of the course, is to have something that feels like you can send it out there, or you can respond to different possible leads online, and know that Fiverr is not where you want to go, but someplace else is. And so sharing that, sharing those recommendations and realities with each other, so that we can have something useful by the end of the course. And everybody's at a different level of experience and that kind of thing. So we can all help each other out to make the best possible look, because we have a lot of folks who are able to talk about it and give us help and comments. So that's kind of where I think we're going. So this is the next discussion related to the 3 portfolio examples. That and by portfolio examples, last time we were looking at things that were tangible, and this time we're looking at things that are virtual, and what you put in, what you want your look to be, based on advice that you're getting from a lot of people online who are kind of in the same boat but have more experience. So that's what we're going to be about for next week. And John, do you have anything else that you would like to add?
Sure. Let's see here. Let me go to speaker view. Oh, you're still sharing your screen. Okay. Well, in terms of online portfolios, just a couple of basic
I'm
points.
stopping, Sherry.
All right. So a couple of things. It's pretty clear that this COVID situation is not going to go away tomorrow and anytime soon. So online portfolios have very quickly become almost more important than the physical portfolios, because everything's virtual,
Not
right?
almost.
I mean, so there are a couple of things. First off, the different kinds of materials that you have will to some degree determine what kind of online portfolio you wish to develop. Certainly images, flyers, posters, graphic design of logos, that kind of stuff is fairly easy to put online. Animations are a little trickier because they could be in different formats, which may or may not be easy for people to see. but they can always be converted to video. So that's, animation has its own little set of issues and challenges, but if you're an animator, there may be different ways to present your animations, and depending on the company that you're applying for a position in, you may wish to do it one way or the other, but you can always make things into videos. So that's something to think about. The websites, if you're a website designer, that's the trickiest because you can't, I mean, you can take screenshots of things, but that doesn't really convey the richness of the design, the interactivity, how the thing works, and how the navigation works, which are key components of web design. So websites are particularly problematic in portfolios. Generally, you can do screenshots, but you can have the screenshots linked to the actual sites if they're sites that are in use by a client. You might want to, I mean, there are a lot of tricky things involved with that, so that takes a little planning. But there are some tools I wanted to mention, and for developing online portfolios, there are essentially 3 basic options. Number one, if you're a coder and you know how to make websites, well, you can just make your own website, and that's the best. And speaking as a coder, there's no substitute for that. However, most of you probably aren't coders, and that may be above and beyond what you want to deal with. So there are some easier ways to develop online portfolios, and you're probably aware of some of them. There are dozens, actually hundreds of online tools to develop very quick and easy websites. Now, specifically, Wix and Squarespace are very popular to develop online portfolios because they have online portfolio tools, not just website builders, but portfolio builders. So Wix and Squarespace have online portfolio builders that are quite easy to use. And the other option that's a really good one for our students here is Adobe, and this is part of the Creative Suite. If you go to, let's see, portfolio.adobe.com, Adobe has an online portfolio tool, which is probably one of the best ones. It's one of the better ones out there because it's from Adobe. It's part of the Creative Suite, and that's what it's for, is online portfolios. So it integrates really well with a lot of your stuff you've done with Adobe products. So if you haven't been to portfolio. Let me share my screen here for a second. Take a quick look. Oh, I see we're running out of time, so I'll be quick. Uh-oh. Did I lose you?
No, I see you.
What happened? What happened to my, oh, okay. For some reason, this window came up. I just want to make that go away. Where's my web browser? Sorry, it looked like I had lost everybody. Let me just open the browser. Let's see here. Got a couple of these queued up. Let's see if this works. Oh, it stopped recording? Oh, I lost the recording. Damn.
No, I see that. I see it's still recording. It's still,
still recording? Okay, I don't know what that was about. Oh, this is the Squarespace one. Okay. This is taking a long time, but so the is it coming up here?
Yeah.
It's taking a while. Okay, this is the Squarespace. Here we go. So this is Squarespace, and you can see that this is specifically Squarespace for online portfolios. So they've got a whole little tool. I'm not going to go through this whole thing. We don't have time, but Squarespace is a pretty decent one. And, you know, it guides you through all these options, but I see we don't have too much time. So here's another option. This one is, this is the Wix one, I think. Let's see. Yeah, this is the Wix, and they have, again, an online, it says free online portfolio, but my understanding is that Wix and Squarespace are not free, and they will charge you. So I think the free is like some super bare bones thing that doesn't really work well. Okay, so I'm not going to go through a sign up. But the Adobe is something that you should definitely look at, since we are using Creative Cloud. And my understanding is that even if you don't have a Creative Cloud account, it says here Adobe Portfolio is now free for 60 days because of the COVID thing. So you might want to take a look at this Adobe tool. And it's it's again specifically for online portfolios. So if you haven't played with this, I would recommend, and here's your templates, I would recommend checking out this Adobe tool. It also integrates with their, what's that website they have? It's kind of a social media website, Behance or something. Has anybody used that? Anybody?
I
No?
don't know that.
Okay. It integrates with Behance. I think that's what it's called, which is an Adobe site where people showcase their creative work. And so if you find that you do a lot of Adobe stuff and you like the Adobe suite and you're like a subscriber to Adobe outside of class, you might want to go this route. But whatever route you go in terms of the tools such as Wix or Squarespace or Adobe, there will be ongoing charges for those. Now, the third alternative, besides using some of those online builder tools and doing it yourself manually, is something kind of between the two, which is a WordPress site. So if you're familiar with WordPress, and again, Beth mentioned we do have classes in WordPress, but WordPress is not that difficult. It's not like hand coding. And there are thousands of WordPress themes which allow you to quickly and easily develop online portfolios as well. So, so your basic options are, complete manual coding. That's for the geeks among you. Using an online tool such as Adobe, Squarespace, Wix, or any of dozens and dozens of other really good tools, and you can Google them, there's millions of them, or a general WordPress site. Now, if you already have a website with a domain name, you're not going to have to pay extra for a WordPress site. So WordPress is actually a pretty good option if you don't want ongoing charges for some of the other hosting services. So I see that it's 5:31, so maybe I'll stop there for questions. That was a very quick summary that will help you in your discussions. Questions?
Well,
No questions.
and so we all have the portfolio.adobe.com, and we could be looking at that as part of our suite, right?
Right, and that's at portfolio.adobe.com.
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend checking that out, see how that works, and of course, discussing that in the forum.
Okay. Well, thank you. That's what I wanted to hear.
We got like a minute or two left. Any other questions?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So we're not expected to make an entire website. We just need to explore.
No.
For this week, yeah.
Yeah, no, it all has to be doable within the time frame, and since so much has changed, it's just having a good plan, and we already have a fledgling first logo look and feel going, and the resume and cover letter. So we've got some of the elements that might be needed, but now it's looking at what can get what we have out there, how that we can get our work out there, and what we would be wanting to show. So thinking about looking at spaces and seeing the kinds of things that other people show, and then thinking about what our niche is in that, what place our work would have within that makes us unique. So I think we're all unique. and so I mean, in this class, I feel like everyone has a really clear personal quality that you can add to and have a really solid plan, like to go take the WordPress class or
Oh yes, and if I forgot to mention, if you are an animator, you may or may not already have your own YouTube channel, but having a place to put your animations in video format online is also a good idea to have as part of your portfolio. And then there's Vimeo, which is kind of a high-class YouTube. And so you have options for putting your animations online as well that you can link to your portfolio. So
yeah. Lots of options.
Okay, well, it's 5:34 and 45 seconds. I think we're right on the button of ending here. So if there's no further questions, I think we're going to stop recording and call it a day.
Okay, guys.
We're good. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.